We got past this past year without one of them big, ugly, windy things coming through here and giving us too much trouble. Every year we kind of hunker down after June and kind of wait and see what's going to happen. It's just part of living in Florida. It keeps a lot of people from moving down here, which I appreciate. But these days I sit up in West Virginia and just kind of watch the news and tell my sons-in-law, and say, well, time to put them shutters up, boys. Get on over there. It's a good deal. I like this. Back in 2004, Judy and I and our kids lived in Orlando. I can't explain why. I don't know why. I lived there for 35 years and I cannot for the life of me figure out why that was. But Orlando 2004 was where X hits the spot, man. We got hit with 3 inside of 60 days. It had us without power for most of that time. And I learned every trick in the book about running a whole house off a little bitty gas generator. It was quite an exercise. Now the next year, we all held our breath as we watched that big old Bertha Hurricane Katrina blow through the Gulf and slam into the Gulf Coast. And I always make sure I say Gulf Coast because the news had you believe really that it just hit New Orleans, and that wasn't the case. It was the entire Gulf Coast, and it was devastating for the whole span. And you looked at what happened, you wondered, why did we know better than that? All right, who's got their phone on? That's an extra charge. There's an upcharge.
There was a finger pointing over.
But you wonder how that could happen. I tried to write a song about Katrina, like a lot of songwriters, and I didn't have any really decent idea. Everything was too maudlin or been done before, so I put it away. But a few months later, or a year or so later, I picked up a book on the history of hurricanes in Florida. And then it included information about Katrina, and really came to understand that though Katrina was a very large storm, in terms of wind power and things, it really wasn't. It was a strong storm, don't get me wrong, but it didn't quite make the top 10 of hurricanes that ever hit the North American continent. Even Andrew flattened South Florida back in the 90s. It was number 5. It barely made the top 5. As it turns out, Katrina hit the Gulf Coast, missed it by 2 days. 2 days short of exactly the 70th anniversary of the most powerful hurricane to ever hit the North American continent. That hurricane hit on Labor Day of 1935 in what is now Islamorada Key. Back then it was upper and lower Matagumbi Key. Much like Katrina, there were people situated there that had no way to fend for themselves. They needed help, they needed warning, they needed help getting out of there. There were 450 World War I vets camped there in plywood shacks with tin roofs, building the overseas highway as part of the New Deal.
Oh, wow.
And there they sat, and just after midnight, start of Labor Day 1935, here comes this storm out of the southeast. It was bearing sustained winds. I'm not talking gusts, I'm talking sustained winds of over 200 miles an hour. Storm surge over 18 feet at a place that is 16 inches above sea level. Do the math. Ernest Hemingway drank with these guys on the weekends down in Key West. They would go down and hang out in the bars with Hemingway because he was a World War I vet as well. These were his drinking buddies, and he came up in his boat to try to find survivors, and all they found was bodies. So he wrote articles in the New Yorker and Vanity Fair magazines and got an investigation started. Remember how we did that with Katrina too? All this furor, we're going to investigate, see how this could have happened. And just like Katrina, it took about 2 months for something involving money to come up, and they forgot all about it and went off to other things. But it's just interesting how we don't learn from history. You think we would. But that hurricane that came ashore back then before we named hurricanes, there's a monument down there now to those World War I vets. And in that monument, you'll see that we now remember that hurricane as Hemingway's hurricane. Hemingway lived down in Old Key West, and he drank in the bars with Uncle Sam's best. And when he heard how they died, he flew off in a rage. His mighty men roared at how they'd been betrayed. Oh, his mighty men roared at how they'd been betrayed. 'Cause it was Labor Day, 35. Pressure was falling, rising tide. South by southeast, great wind with no name. Remember now is Hemingway's birthday. Remember now is Hemingway's birthday. Now who left you there and who knows why? Well, the mama demands with a fiery eye. Now was it careless or callous? No less to blame. And at the three-score ten, relive the shame. And remember Hemingway's birthday. The wars of fought, World War I. Hard times upon depression low. Million dollars for the highway built the overseas. Oh, a highway built the overseas. Come on, sing down that train, she's starting to blow. Too little, too late, there's nowhere to go. Just shacks and shanties, the plywood and the tin. Our Lord watch over the souls we spend. Our Lord watch over the souls we spend. Now who left you there and who knows why?